It's tough to get middle and high school kids to define or even use nuance. They can't. They're incapable of it for the most part, unless it's accidentally or by sarcasm. And I wish that weren't the case. My laughter is more out of sadness than funniness. That's what made this book kind of come to mind. How Do You Live? We loved this book. Really fabulous. And when we looked at the publisher's notes for How Do You Live, in Japan, it is considered a classic book from Genzaburo Yoshino. And once you read it, you can tell why. It takes place in pre-World War II Japan, obviously a very interesting cultural period in Japan. But this is not about the culture of pre-World War II Japan. It's more about youth and coming of age and forgiveness and how to age gracefully, and to the title's point, how do you live? Or more specifically, how do you want to live? And it's tough because I've taught a lot. I've taught a fair amount of high school ELA, middle school ELA, and this book is geared for 10-year-old to 14-year-old kids, youth. 10-year-old students, 14-year-old students, and the American students that I've taught this to couldn't handle this book. Not because they couldn't read it, just because they wouldn't have the emotional depth and maturity to understand how great it is and how patient of a book it is from its storytelling angle. Even if you look at this book from a high school level. The most recent one I read with high school kids was The Anthropocene Revealed and Little Fires Everywhere. And Little Fires Everywhere came close in the emotional depth of How Do You Live, but it was just close in a field with a heck of a lot of curves. And it's just so disappointing that a book like this can't be read in high schools because of any number of reasons. Because they would toss it in more of a social studies genre, or because it takes place in a different country, or just because it's too difficult. And I think it's that last version, if teachers really look at their students and their abilities in the face and say, you guys can't handle this. You don't read enough. You're not smart enough to handle it. And if that's the best way to get kids to read, by saying you're not smart enough, that's what it is. Because this book is really great. To that end, if you're an adult looking for a great book about self-reflection and how to just be a better person, regardless of what age you are, even though this is a coming-of-age book, and I've obviously already been of age for a couple of decades, it's great. Just the pacing back and forth between the lessons that the kids are learning and the stories, the vignettes that the older characters in the book have. And this is not war-related. It's just about human behavior. That's what makes it so good. It's a classic, and once you read it, you'll be like, oh yeah, this is a classic, I get it. But it's too smart for my local high school, because they're a bunch of knuckleheads. I say with all affinity towards high school kids. This is a great book, and ages 10 and up can read it, but you probably won't. Ages 14 and up should read it, but you probably won't. 15 and up, check this book out. It really is fabulous. Hear it in my voice when I say this. How Do You Live? It's one of the best-selling books out of Japan, in Japan's history. It's fabulous, and once you read it, you will understand why. How Do You Live by Genzaburo Yoshino. Check it out.